I realize the title is a little misleading. I don't mean they went to the infernal home of Hades, the greatly feared god of death in Greek mythology. I would not make light of something like that. Not to mention, if they had visited the land of no return, they would not have been able to return and give me the shirt, right? We have all read those classic myths and epic tales. There is always some catch or critical error the protagonist makes whenever they dare to enter the one-way realm of the dead. That's not the case here. This was something else. They actually went on a little remote island getaway. The tropical resort in Tobago is called the Underworld because their tourism bureau is in the business of selling cleverly themed vacation travel packages and filling their hotel rooms. Referring to it as a Caribbean mosquito heaven will dissuade travelers from visiting their tiny island. As they say, accent the positive, eliminate the negative, don't mess with mystery with me. Lise and Tony are the two best friends of mine in the world. Rob and Beck are also very good buddies. I was invited to go with them on a trip, but as a single guy, I did not want to be an odd man out. If you know what I mean. I would have felt weird staring into my drink glass while they paired up to suck face and grope each other. Knowing what I know now, everything turned out for the best. Tropical curses can be hard to get rid of. I asked Tony to text me when they arrive safely, but internet coverage on the island is spotty, so I wasn't surprised I did not hear from him for a few days. When I did, it wasn't at all what I expected. I assumed I would receive panoramic shots of the beach at sunsets or some good-natured ribbing about me being stuck back at home in the blustery cold weather. Instead, what I actually got was troubling, to put it mildly, as his revelatory messages unfolded. He confessed that they felt increasingly unsafe by a series of uncomfortable events which transpired completely out of their control. His tone strongly implied they were in a grave danger. It seemed like an off-putting joke at first. I thought they felt bad for me, being home alone, and we were trying to minimize their vacation fun, but this went way past downplaying their enjoyment. It was eerie and morbid. Tony said they were being followed at night by shadowy figures mirroring their movements. He actually used the word stalked in the follow-up response. News stories of travelers being victimized or killed in the tourist traps are increasingly common these days. Because of that, I urge him to contact the authorities immediately. He did not respond right away, but I completely understood. He genuinely sounded afraid for their safety. It's not like they had time to reassure me they were alright in the middle of their ongoing situation. Tony is 6'5" and built like a professional football player. Rob is no slouch either, he's a bodybuilder. The two of them together are very intimidating to approach, but thieves are brazen, desperate if they have weapons. It doesn't matter how buff you are. I was highly worried, but I hoped the island police would put an end to a potential crisis. Hours passed. Nothing. I decided to reach out to Elise, Rob, and Becca separately. They were equally unresponsive. I looked up the Tobago Police Department phone number and was about to call them when another text came in, this time from Rob. I don't mind telling you his message concerned me even more than I had been with Tony. He appeared to be completely rattled by whatever they were going through. Dude, the creepy things watching our bungalow from the jungle are definitely not human. I know how that sounds, but they can slither up the trees like a freaking snake. We have called the cops a dozen times, but they have been a no show so far. They advised us to inside. They advised us to stay inside under all the circumstances and keep quiet. The last couple of times, they refused to even answer our call. It's madness. Becca and Elisa are inconsolable. They were the first to see them leering at us through the window. Tony grabbed the mop from the closet and tried to scare them off, but I reminded him of what the cops had said. Maybe the big lug will keep his ass in the house. You know him, he thinks he's a Superman or something. Rob was definitely the more level-headed of the pair. It seems like it seemed like he was keeping his wits about him. But the way he described the stalkers in the jungle as being serpent-like made my skin crawl. I worried the locals might have slipped something into their drinks to rob them. When I tried to call their phones, it wouldn't go through. A recording informed me the intended recipient were not equipped to send or receive international calls. Cell coverage was apparently limited to person on the island. Fortunately, text would go through using the resort Wi-Fi service. If Tony resorted to brandishing a mop handle as a threat deterrent, then they had no significant weapons. I was engrossed in their ongoing drama from a couple thousand miles away, but unable to offer any real help. They were essentially on their own. All I could do was text moral support and calming words from afar. Alvin, we are fully surrounded in this glorified native hut right beside the swamp. Becca revealed. Rob and Tony are keeping a lookout from the windows. We have the lights out so they cannot see inside. The reptilian creatures have yellowish eyes and slitted pupils. It's like seeing an unholy demon from Dante Inferno on other side of the glass. There is not a trace of humanity in them, no emotion on their monstrous leathery faces. They slither and flex their sinewy body in the nearby tree branches to intimidate us. Despite the danger lurking in this god-forsaken hellhole, Tony keeps threatening to go out there and kick their asses. What a moron. He just does not get it. Elise cannot talk any sense into him either, but the damn island cops here are useless. I messaged her back immediately but struggled to find anything helpful to say. I did not have any real world experience dealing with a jungle full of snake men, intimidating tourists at the underworld. This situation was so surreal, I wondered if they were under the influence of some potent hallucinogenic drug or actually seeing some spider monkeys in the wood. That would have made much more sense than army of serpent gulls dangling from tree limbs in Tobago. Despite the bizarre optics, the four of them clearly believed what they were telling. I was convinced of that. Did you jam kitchen chairs under the doorknobs like they always do in the movies? I suggested to Rob. The dining room should have some knives in the drawer. His quick answer implied they had fortified the bungalow as much as possible with the items they had at their disposal. No sooner than I would spend my pointless tips to him, a message came from Elise. She is one of those phonetic texters who uses acronyms and abbreviations under the duress of all being surrounded by yellow-eyed snake folk. You could imagine the syntax police having a field day. Alvin, we are under attack. They're getting closer. T and Ro said that they are outside the house now. OMG, I'm so terrified. I'm never coming back if we make it out. She included a half dozen frightened emoji and cartoon poop. Presumably, it was a scared shit out of her. I felt beyond helpless. My best friends in the world were enduring some hideous supernatural fever dream, and I could not do anything about it. An hour passed while I gnawed my bloody fingernails to the quick. Several follow up messages went unanswered. I didn't know what to think. Had the menacing entities in the Tobago jungle breached the cottage? Had my terrified pals been carried off to the actual underworld by zombified corpses liberated from their graves? The human imagination is a powerful thing, with no input or feedback to keep it securely on the rails. Things can drift far, far afield. My thoughts went to terrible places. After an eternity of silence passed, Tony finally messaged me back. Whatever those dark, slittery things are, they are closing in on us. They have crept even closer now. They are no longer attempting to hide in the jungle fog any longer. I can see them clearly in the moonlight. Let me tell you now, they are not any known species of living creature. Only Dark Guru could summon something evil like them from the depth of the hell. They have started scratching and crawling on the door and walls to torment us. I don't know how long I can hold them off. Alvin, it's been real. Bro, tell my family. The message ended abruptly, as if he sent it in an urgent hurry. I never got a response from him after that. Texts sent to the others were equally met with silence. My message stated they were delivered but not read. I knew what that meant. My stomach sank in frustration. I frantically called each of them in hopes it might go through. But I got the same automated error message from before. It was utterly hopeless. Despite it being 2:30 a.m., I called Rob's mom. I didn't know what I was going to say, but she needed to know what they were in mortal danger. She could reach out to the international authorities to do an inquiry into their safety. I not I need not have worried about waking her up. She answered immediately. She'd been getting play-by-play details about the horrifying saga from Rob the whole time. We compared notes. She too had been advised about the alarming Caribbean voodoo snake skull lurking in the underworld woods. I've already been in contact with the other parents. She confessed while sobbing. We are going to fly down there first thing tomorrow morning and demand to do a wellness check. We'll get to the bottom of this horrific madness. She assured me there was a lingering tremor in her voice, which spoke of how frightened she was. I felt a sense of relief that they were going there to investigate. Obviously, I was still on the edge, but there was only so much I could do as a non relative. I sent at least a dozen more texts, but all of them were left unread. Had the serpent zombies breached the door? I had no idea what to believe about the current status of my friends. But things appeared pretty grim. I was on pins and needles for the next couple days as repeated follow-up messages went unanswered. A firm knock on the front door early the next morning startled me. I staggered out of the bed and pulled it open. There stood Tony, Elise, Becca, Rob, and his mom. All grinning from ear to ear, Tony held up a colorful t-shirt with the word Visit Tobago emblazoned on it. He handed it to me while my early morning audience roared in unison at my perplexed expression. As it turns out, their collective tech saga was an intricately orchestrated ruse. They did it to give me a vigorous adventure because I would decided to skip the trip. They really got me. I had been advertent catalyst for the elaborate prank because I made an offhand joke about them needing to avoiding voodoo dolls and zombies. Touche. Rob's mom was into this prank. They figured I would call her since she was the only parent whose number I knew. It was masterful in its planning and execution. Revisiting the beginning narrative of this story, my best friends went to the underworld and all I got was anticlimactic t-shirt.